Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is just so fundamentally human, the search for community. And we're going to explore it through the really powerful and sometimes really challenging experiences of people finding their way in a new faith.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at that universal need to find a place you can call home. Then, we'll get into the beautiful Islamic ideal of a single community, the Ummah. After that, though, we have to face the painful reality of exclusion that so many converts experience. And finally, we'll look at a path forward, a way to build a space that's truly welcoming for everyone.
All right, so to kick things off, let's just ground this whole conversation in something every single one of us gets, that deep, deep need to find our place in the world.
It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it's anything but. And for someone who's navigating a brand new faith, a new identity, this question isn't just some philosophical thought experiment. It feels like a matter of survival.
You know, when academics look at this, they see belonging as a kind of two-sided coin. On one side, you have that personal, emotional feeling, feeling safe, feeling at home. But on the other side, it's about the politics of it, the spoken and often unspoken rules that any group uses to decide who's in and who's out.
Okay, so with that idea of belonging in our heads, let's look at how this all builds within Islam, which has this incredibly powerful and beautiful ideal for what a global community should be.
And that ideal is all wrapped up in one word, Ummah. It means the collective community of all Muslims. The idea is a single, unified body of believers who are connected by faith, not by things like nationality or ethnicity or where they come from.
And this isn't some new idea, not at all. It's rooted right there in the Quran itself, which lays out this vision of a community united by a shared moral purpose, one that's meant to be a real force for good in the world.
But, and this is a really big but, here's where it gets complicated. For so many people coming to Islam, the reality they find on the ground can be a really jarring, really painful contrast to that beautiful ideal.
So instead of being welcomed with open arms into this global family, that first feeling is often just unease. That feeling of not quite fitting in, even in the one place you thought you would.
And that feeling can be incredibly isolating. I mean, just imagine, you've changed your whole life to join a community, only to feel like a total outsider in the very place you hoped would finally be your home. It's just devastating.
So why does this happen? What's going on?
Well, converts talk about a whole range of painful things. Feeling isolated by cliques, facing judgment, being treated like a token who has to perform their conversion story over and over. And maybe the most painful part is facing these deep racial and cultural divides, where someone's cultural habits get confused with religious rules. It's a total contradiction of the Prophet's teachings on equality.
And look, this isn't just a collection of stories. The research actually confirms it. A study out of Leiden University found that for a lot of Muslims, this feeling of belonging is rarely stable. It's conditional. That means it can be given one moment and then just as easily taken away the next.
There's actually a key term that really helps us get this: misrecognition. It's when your individual identity just gets erased and you're only seen through a label. Like one woman in that study said, "I end up being the spokesperson for every Islamic country." Her unique self just vanished and was replaced by a stereotype.
So you've got this huge gap, right? The ideal is a unified, welcoming community, but the reality is often fragmentation and exclusion. How on earth do we start to bridge that? What does a healthy community even look like?
The writer C.S. Lewis had this fantastic metaphor for it. He talked about the difference between a group of people marching and a group of people dancing. Marching is all about sameness, uniformity, efficiency. But dancing is all about harmony between unique individuals. And that just perfectly captures it, doesn't it? A true, vibrant community isn't about forcing everyone to march in lockstep. It's about creating a space where all these different people with their own backgrounds and personalities can move together in this joyful, coordinated dance.
That idea of a dance is beautiful, but it brings up a big question. How do we learn the steps? How do we learn to dance instead of march? Well, the sources we've looked at actually give us a pretty clear path forward, with advice for both new members and the communities they're trying to join.
It really all centers on three core ideas. First, just be gentle. Islam itself was revealed over 23 years, right? So a new Muslim needs time and patience to grow, not a giant list of rules on day one. Second, it's about finding a balance between faith, practice, and that inner spiritual growth. And third, and this one is so important, you have to embrace imperfection. You got to ground your faith in the core principles because people will always let you down sometimes.
And that connects directly to this idea of embracing imperfection. This teaching from the prophet is so profound. The best of sinners are those who repent. It completely reframes what a community is for. It's not a museum for perfect saints. It's a space for imperfect people to strive together, to support each other, and to grow.
And this brings us to our final, and maybe the most crucial point. Building a truly welcoming community, in the end, boils down to a really simple but profound shift in how we see each other.
This quote from Nadia, one of the women in that Leiden study, it just says everything. Speak with us, not about us. The answer isn't to create programs for new members, it's to create authentic connections with them. It's about real engagement over assumption and building relationships instead of just putting people in boxes.
And that really leaves us with one last question to chew on. And this isn't just for faith groups. It's a challenge for every single one of us, in our workplaces, our friend groups, our neighborhoods. How do we move beyond just offering inclusion and start building a place of true, real, heartfelt belonging?